No, we can start rolling. Um,
Fantastic. Well, today we're talking very much like a couple trainings ago. We were talking about being able to evaluate ourselves, so we have that potential to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep getting even better at what we do. Today we're doing a similar thing, but we're really talking about leadership and what are the powers of great leaders. And who here, just by a show of hands, I've asked this before in the past, but I'll ask again, who here is a leader?
everybody. Should be.
Everybody's a leader. Yes,
Should
that's
be.
a trick question. I saw one hand to go up from who I can see. And it's a trick question because you'll remember, when we talked about way in the beginning when we started what we called the mandates of leadership. All being a leader is the ability to see things as they are and not make them worse. So that's to have vision, if you will, or I'm sorry, to be able to not make things worse. The next piece is to have vision. But really, if you think about it, what great leaders do, and whether we're doing this in our personal lives or at work or outside of work, is we're able to see things just as they are, because when emotion goes up, oftentimes when we're trying to lead ourselves or other people, intellect goes down. So we want to be able to be very centered as a leader. Then we see things better than they are. That's the vision piece I had mentioned earlier. So we have to see improvement or change with ourselves, with other people, with patience also. And then the final piece is we make it the way that we see it. And for today, we're going to talk about these different pieces. You all know the keys to get the most out of the training. It's going to be take notes. There's definitely pieces here where we're going to be going through, getting some answers. The other piece today, I think that you'll notice that's a little bit different, is as we talk about these different qualities of leaders, we're going to have you identify people in your life, and it could be yourself, that have those qualities. And the reason that we do that is so that you can model those people, or where you're already successful, you can build on that piece. So you're going to want to play full out. Of course, we'll call on people like we always do. You'll make sure to participate. And the biggest thing, as we do these trainings, we're going to make sure that you take one or two things and go out and apply those. So we'll have some conversation around how to do that. So first piece, we're going to understand and identify where your current leadership style is. Learn some new skills and styles or ways to look at leadership. And then we're also going to have you grow, have you set some different outcomes or growth pieces for yourself. And then as a team, of course, the more the team is growing together, the easier it is for you to grow as an individual. And that is the reality of what we do as people, whether that's at work or in our lives, is we're constantly growing. And I may have shared with you all, has everybody heard the term, you're either growing or dying?
Yes.
Yeah, I probably said it. You've probably heard it in other places. And dying sounds a bit extreme. And if you think about it, like we're growing our body, we're getting older, or we're not. And another way to think about it is if we're not learning and growing as people, well, at some point we're going to get bored. So let's start off with some shares. And when you think about leaders that you've worked with, it could be today, it could be in the past, maybe even leaders that um, I don't know, political, community, church, but different people that you would consider leaders. I'm curious, what causes you to respect and trust or even admire someone as a leader? There's no right or wrong answers to that. Let's have Dr. AJ, let's have you pick somebody to start the shares off.
Oh, okay. How about Visa?
And you'll have to talk loud for me too, Tisa.
I base it on their goals and how they're working towards it.
Okay.
You have to repeat it. Someone specific? Well, she's like
Louder,
Yeah, so
louder.
Think of somebody specific. It could be somebody in your community, in your church. It could be a parent, could be a relative, a friend, but somebody that you think, oh, they're probably a leader, and it could even be somebody here in this room. I don't know, but what causes you to respect, trust, and admire someone who's a leader? And I think I heard you say they have a goal that they're working towards.
Yeah, I picked Dr. Q as one of them.
She picked Dr. Q.
Okay, fantastic. And so what causes you to respect, trust, or admire somebody like Dr. Q?
She has goals and she works towards them in a humane way.
Fantastic. And if I heard you correctly, you said because she has goals, she works towards them every day.
In a humane way.
In a humane way. Got it. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Great start for us. Now you get to pick somebody else to share.
All right, Maria.
So when I started here, because I was new and I was learning everything, it was Anne and Ashley because and the doctors, right? Dr. Wayne, Dr. Q. Because I was like, oh my God, look, they know all of this and this is where I want to be. So those were like my I admired them. And I knew they were doing things correctly. And that was my goal. So now it's like a different, it's more towards the doctors and myself because I feel like I'm a good leader. So I'm proud of myself because I am like leading some of the staff that they're new. So I don't know if that explains what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's a fantastic answer. And we're not going to call in anybody else, Maria, but do know that you get to pick the next person when we do call in somebody.
So I'm going to pick
Dr. who?
Dr. Q.
Dr. Q. Okay, you're not up just yet, Dr. Q. It's coming, though.
Oh.
So great answers, and that is it's the thing, whether you're noticing these traits in yourself or noticing these traits in others. It's just remembering, and I know that this team is always looking at how are you growing, how are you improving, and it's an interesting thing as we go into these different powers of what we would call conscious leaders, and when I say that, all we mean is people that are aware. I see we've got Joey. He's joined us in person, which is fantastic. But all we mean by conscious is that these are people that are constantly working on the skill set of leadership. And it is a neat thing. And oftentimes when I'm working with a group of this size, there's a couple of people who don't feel like they're leaders or they don't feel like they're natural leaders. And I would share with you, if it is you, I know I've been that way in the past with myself, it is a skill set. So it's something that you develop. It's not something that you are or you aren't. And it is something that you actually work on. And so we'll give you a frame to start looking at that here. And it is interesting. One of the General Norman Schwarzkopf, who's a famous general in the United States here, retired at this point, is his definition of leadership a little bit differently is this ability to inspire other people to do things that they normally wouldn't do. And that could be as simple as to try a little bit harder on a project or move a little bit faster with a patient. Or even if we think about, I oftentimes think about in the medical environment, when we have people that are afraid for whatever reason, they're afraid of change or afraid of a procedure or concerned about money, is oftentimes we have to help them do what's good for them. And it's very different because we're not, selling something that people don't need here. This is like important to their quality of lives. And so even that, looking at leadership in that way, but even for yourself too, sometimes you have to lead yourself and you'll push yourself to do things that are outside of your comfort zone, even though it's uncomfortable. So something to think about. And we're going to go into these different 10 powers, and then we're going to have you rate where you are. And I think the most valuable piece for you is there's going to be some of these if you're a normal human being, which all of you are. So there's going to be some where you're a lot stronger, And then there's going to be some where you feel like, okay, that's a bit of a soft spot for me, a place where I can grow. And so a neat question that we ask is, who do you know that you think represents this specific power? Could be a friend, again, could be a family member, could be somebody that you work with, or a professor or teacher. It's different for everybody. So the first power is the power of vision. And we talked a little bit about this when I shared with you a reminder of the mandates of leadership. And so this is being able to paint a compelling picture, or said another way, an exciting idea of what's possible. And again, this is very team focused, but I do want you to remember that this is also for ourselves, because if we can't paint a compelling picture of what we want, we can't actually obtain it. And it is one of those things I know I've shared with everybody multiple times here, and I keep sharing it for a reason. And when you think about it, personal growth, all we do when we're growing as people is we identify where we are. Sounds a lot like the first mandate of leadership. Then we identify where we want to go. What's the target, if you will, or the X on the map, which is like the third mandate of leadership, right? We're taking ourselves there, and then we move towards that thing. And unless we identify where we want to go, which is this compelling picture of what we want to create, it's really hard to do it. The second piece here is we actually have to get ourselves or the people we're working with excited. Otherwise, they're not going to want to do it if they're not excited about it. And then this third piece is this idea, it's really state. So the emotion of certainty. And we've got to be able to not only convince ourselves, but convince other people that it's going to happen. And then when we get to those results, it's going to be extraordinary. And extraordinary means all kinds of different things. Sometimes it's passing a class or getting a certification. Sometimes it's creating additional opportunities for the business. Sometimes extraordinary just means that all of you are working together even better as a team. Or it could be that you're bringing on, I thought it was a great example from Maria, you're bringing on new people, and they look at you and they're able to see, hey, I'm going to be able to do this at some point, because they're learning all kinds of things. So here's the exercise real quickly for those of you that have pen and paper. If you don't, you can put it in your phone. And we're going to start with Dr. Q when we get here after I read these. But think about 2 to 3 people, it could be as easy as 2, who you believe demonstrate the power of vision. Now, you may not even know these people personally. It could be somebody that you've seen on the TV or read a book or whatever it is, or it could be somebody that you know. And then you're going to rank your own current power of vision and capture 1 to 2 actions that you could take to improve in this area. And you see the measuring system we have is a little bit different than last time. We've got from weak all the way to extraordinary. So Dr. Q, you are up.
Yay.
Yay!
You want me to go through the questions? Okay.
Yeah, the 2 questions, please. The 2 or 3 people that when you think of vision, so this ability to excite people about where you're going and what you're creating and certainty around that. And then also where you feel like you are and what, if anything, that you could do to improve it even more.
Okay, so there are 3 people. One is Maria. Maria has a power of vision because when she comes in, like, she wanted to make things more efficiently, for work to like be smoother. So she started to organize things, and she's very like we organized the lab together because we've been getting a lot of patients, and so Fiza and Maria like helped all of that. Like they took ownership of that project, and they used their skills, their organization skills, and they organized the lab for our team. So with that, like, because just to see how much they put in to better our work environments, that's kind of like excite me to like wanting to work more, to put in more. So that's I see them having the power of visions. My brother has the power of visions. Like he's always so excited to build something more for the patients, and just like getting dental, medical, and optometry together, and seeing how he's excited about it is like makes me now his is making me tired. It drains my energy, but I think it's a good. I mean, it's a good vision, and no, I have to change. Like he wants, he generally wants to grow the people of who works for us. So, and I too have the same vision. Like I identify with that. So with that in mind, like that's what excites me. But the other visions of like growing and expanding, because I don't identify with that, so that drains me. So
Got it.
They're different.
Got it.
Ones can either drains you or empower you. So write your own current power of visions and capture 1 or 2 actions. Okay, my visions is one is to grow the people that works for us and help them to pursue their dreams. And then the second thing is that to provide better quality of care for our patients. And my action is that just encouraging people more. And I think I learned that from Fizza. Before we just like, okay, making mistakes, okay, you should not make these mistakes. But then Fizza told me like, hey, you need to encourage people more. And I think that's very helpful, because when you encourage people, like it's pushed them to like wanting to contribute more, because life is already very hard. We don't know what's going on outside of work, and if we encourage them and appreciate our staff, then that will push them to do more.
That's fantastic. What a great way to get us started on these. So you know how it works, Dr. Q. You get to pick who's going to go next for the second power. So who would that be?
Jason.
Oh.
Fantastic, Jason. So everybody pay attention to these, but Jason, even more so. So the second power is that of unreasonable expectations. Unreasonable expectations. Well, what the heck does that even mean? We'll go into it here. But you've got this first piece, which is holds themselves to the same or the higher standard than the people around them. And what I mean by that is if there's a standard that they want everybody else to do, they are actually holding themselves to a higher standard. Now, that doesn't mean that, of course, they're running around telling everybody. It could be an internal thing that you care about making sure you're holding a higher standard. Now, we'll talk about standards in a moment, what I mean by that. This second piece is having this certainty that you're going to be able to execute on expectations. So when you're doing something, bringing that level of certainty, and of course having certainty in the people around you too. So creating that. Again, when you start to hear a lot of these things, a lot of it's emotion. It's this energy that we bring to the table. And in fact, when I was talking about, hey, we start somewhere, we identify where we're going, and we move towards that thing, the thing we've been talking about this whole time is, as I'm achieving in life, as I'm showing up to work and working with this team, as I'm working with patients, when I'm at home, how do I want to feel when I'm doing that? That's the emotion or energy. How do I actually want to feel when I'm doing that? And what's going to help me actually get what I want? What feeling, or we call it state, do I want to be in? And it is one of those interesting things because that is an energy. State is a thing that we do. And oftentimes people say, well, if I'm showing up at work and it's a challenging day, even if I want to feel excited, happy, and confident, it's hard. And I agree, sometimes it is. And what you'll remember, just like any outcome or goal, when we're intentional, which means we decide on purpose or with intention. So we decide on purpose, oftentimes in advance, just like when we set a goal. If I set a goal, I want to save $20,000 by the end of this year. The idea that I've set that goal, I've made that target, and I write it down, that helps my achievement of it by 33%. So it ups the potential that I'm going to achieve it by 33% just by identifying the target. So we're still talking about mandates of leadership here, like knowing where I want to go and writing it down. Well, the interesting thing is emotion's the same way. So when we talk about certainty, if I say I'm going to bring the emotion of certainty and I write it down, well, that ups the chances that I'll be able to do it even when things are difficult. So that's why we're always talking about, not only do we want to know where we are, do we want to know where we want to go, but we also want to decide or be intentional about what's the emotion that we're going to bring to the party. So something to think about. So it's instilling certainty. And then this third piece is we've got to believe that we are going to be able to make it happen. So when we set a standard that's high for ourselves, we have to believe that we can do it, even when it's hard. Now, I don't think I shared this with this team, but I think it's helpful to know there's all kinds of goal-setting research. I don't think I shared this. Did I share the power of setting difficult goals or outcomes with this team?
Is that a SMART?
Similar.
Similar.
But one of the things, and so this third piece, demonstrating the ability to believe you can do it, is sometimes we don't want to do things because we think they're going to be hard. And what they've found, and I believe the periodical was Psychology Today, they did a meta-analysis of goal-setting studies. So they took all these studies, and what they found is out of all these goal-setting studies that studied people who set goals and what happens, that in 90% of the studies, when people set difficult outcomes or goals, so things that were going to be hard for them or a stretch, it actually upped the percentage of achievement. Meaning, or said a different way, is when you set hard goals, hard outcomes, or you're setting unreasonable expectations for you, it works in reverse. Whereas most of us would think, well, it's probably going to be harder, I'm not going to do it as often. It actually works in reverse, where your brain starts to function in a way that when obstacles come to you, you're more likely to push through them because they are difficult and you knew it ahead of time. Can you guys still see the slide deck?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Just wanted to make sure because I know we had somebody just join us.
Oh.
Does anybody have a place where they can take notes? Because I'm going to share something with you about unreasonable expectations, and it's not on the deck, and it's not going to be on any information I'm going to share with you. So there's this thing, when we look at number one, which is people that hold themselves to a higher standard. Oftentimes people kind of like ask themselves, well, what is that? How do I hold myself to a higher standard? And there's a model called the 4 standards and the 4 rewards. Has anybody ever heard of that before?
No.
So I'll walk you through it. It's the 4 standards and the 4 rewards. So if you have a poor standard for yourself, what do you believe the rewards that you get are?
0.
0. I agree with you. You'd get poor rewards. And so when we think about like the standard that you hold for yourself for leadership or for growth or for health or whatever that is, when you have a poor standard, you get 0 rewards or you get really bad rewards. The interesting thing, and I've worked with a lot of teams all across the United States and the world for that matter, and worked with a lot of individuals one-on-one, and what I can share with you all is I've never worked with anybody that wants things to go bad. I've never worked with anyone that wants to have health challenges or wants to have a relationship that falls apart or wants to get kicked out of school or wants to show up to work and get fired or wants to mess up a patient's anything. Have you all? Have you met somebody who wants things to go wrong? Anybody?
No.
No, of course not, because generally people are doing the best they can with the skill set that they have. And so it's an interesting thing to think about. My belief is most people don't hold a poor standard because they don't want things to go wrong. Like, people aren't built like that. So we move up then from a poor standard to what we would call a good standard. So when you have a good standard, what type of rewards do you think you get?
Okay, average.
Average rewards. Yeah, that would be nice if the world worked that way, but it actually doesn't. And this is where this throws people off a bit. Because when you have a good standard, you actually get poor rewards. Now, it doesn't seem fair. And we've probably all heard this in the past, and it could be something like, I don't know why I got a bad grade in that class. I was doing a good job. I took good notes. Or I was in that relationship. I don't know why it didn't work. I was doing pretty good. Not sure why I don't have enough money in my account. I do a pretty good job taking care of my bills. Like, we hear it all the time, but we don't tend to put the two together. But that's the weird thing, is having a good standard actually gets you poor rewards. Going back to what we talked about, nobody wants to do bad. So everybody has a good standard. Everybody has a good standard. So we've got to bump it up. And the next standard is what we would call an excellent standard. What type of rewards do you think you get having an excellent standard?
Good reward. Or average.
Great.
Yeah, I heard some different answers. I think you're starting to get how this game goes. So having an excellent standard, you get good rewards. An excellent standard is like what we talked about. That's setting an outcome. You go, oh, okay, well, I've enrolled myself in a medical program. My goal is to graduate. Or my goal is to graduate at this specific place in class. Or I want to buy a certain car. Or I want to serve a certain amount of patients. Having an excellent standard means you get good rewards, which means you goal set. You're more likely to achieve the thing. And then the other piece, too, of course, is that you get good rewards. But the interesting thing is oftentimes people come to a space where they're having this moment of, is this all it is? Like, is this all I get? I'm trying pretty hard here. Like, I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to do. And so we've got to take it up one more notch. And where it gets weird for people is they say, hey, I'm already doing more than most of my family. I've attained a higher level of education. I'm working really hard. I don't know that there's any more that I can do. But we still got to push. And that next standard is what we call outstanding. So it's an outstanding standard. And what do you think the rewards are for an outstanding standard?
Everything. All of it.
I agree. You get it all. It's like when we think about the Olympics, there's one gold winner. Now, what's interesting about this, having an outstanding standard, pushing that little extra bit, most people think it's all kinds of extra that you have to do, but it's really not. It's just a little tiny bit more than you were in the past. It's not always a competition against other people. I use the Olympics as an example, but most of the time, just like number one here, we're having a higher standard for ourselves. Here's where it gets interesting, is oftentimes, like I shared, people are like, well, I'm already trying really hard. I'm already setting goals and outcomes. I'm already working hard. What more can I do? And it's not always about doing more. It's not always about seeing another patient or adding another certificate or another degree or pulling a lever or pushing a button even more. Oftentimes, the outstanding standard is exactly what we've been talking about, what we talked about months ago, which is controlling your mindset. Deciding what are the emotions that you want to feel. Deciding like, hey, if I'm making this up, but if I'm going to school and I'm working and I'm like doing these other things, like I'm going to do those things anyways. I'm going to perform at a high level. what do I want my experience of that to be? Like, oftentimes that's the outstanding standard. So it's not always about doing more, but it is oftentimes about being even more. So it's in your mind, which is a fascinating thing. So something to think about. With all of that, and Jason has been patiently waiting. So Jason, give us an idea of two people off the top of your head. There's no right or wrong answers that you believe have unreasonable expectations for not just other people, but even more so for themselves. Then rate yourself where you're at, and what are one or two actions that you can take to get even better at this skill.
Okay, so for the first person that I believe that they have the power of unreasonable expectation is Elon Musk.
Yep.
He have like a lot of expectations for his employees, and he want to achieve it with, say for instance, the recent comments that he wants most of his employees to go back to the office and work for 40 hours. And for most of them, they don't believe that it is a good time to go back to the office because COVID is getting back, and it is okay because they believe they can work at home and then can still like produce like the same amount of work and the same amount of efficiency. And I think that's something that he just wanna send people back to the office to get more like the result, like more car to be delivered or more sales to be settled. That's the first person. The second one is Dr. Barrett, which is the professor that I have been with since I have the MBA at school. He usually asks us to get 100 in the test, and it is impossible because he sets this off the book, and there's no way you can find the answer. It's based on the experience when you work in real life, and then he asks us to ask people like if we have related person at home or at work, we can ask them, and they can share it with us, and then we can get that and then bring it to the test. So most of the time, there's 0% students in the class have 100%. It is unreasonable, but usually the average is about 85 to 95%, which is high because it can go up from a B plus to an A. It is unreasonable, but it can push the student to study hard and to go outside and ask for more experience. And then it is good for us because we have something that we will not achieve from school. And for the second questions, for my own, I believe that I'm at a 6 out of 10 right now. And a couple actions that I need to improve even more in the area is, I'm lack of experience. I have more achievement in academic stuff, but I'm not like have a lot of experience in real life. So my action is probably just step outside and get more experience, and then I can understand how unreasonable expectations work to push employees to achieve more and more results.
Fantastic. So Jason, you get to pick who's next.
Joey next.
All right.
Fantastic. We've got Joey next. And as a reminder for everybody, this whole idea like we're rating ourselves and you're going to grow, whether that's more experience or whatever it is, it's a constant process. This is something that you'll never stop doing. So it's not about like, looking at and saying, oh, I'm a 6 out of 10, like there's all this room. Well, when you get to that 10 one day, all you're going to do is move the 10 further away because that's what people do. This is the experience of life and growth. So something just to remember. So Joey, be ready here. We've got the power of conviction. And so all that is you see this first one, we talked about that, emotional mastery. No matter what's happening, you're going to get what you want or get what's important for the team. And so you're able to provide, to exude that certainty to the team in a way that is true. It's authentic. And anything that you ask of the team, you're congruent because of your own consistency. If I'm asking somebody else to come in, on time every day, and every day I show up 10 minutes late, well, people may look at that in an odd way. So Joey, for you to make sure that we can get through all of these different ones, you're going to list one person that you believe has the power, demonstrates the power of conviction, and then of course one action that you'll take to improve even more, and then tell us where you think you are on the scale.
Well, I think, can you hear me, Mr. Chris?
Yeah, you sound great.
Thank you. So I really think I'm gonna go for my team for good context for everyone to understand last year. I love my team; they're great. All the staff that I work with, especially the MAs I work with. I have Miss Donnie here. She helps me with Spanish. It's fantastic. She helps me improve my Spanish when I need it. But one person I really want to point out is Jason Tran right there. He, the one in the maroon sweatshirt. I really love Jason because he is one of the few MAs that that's come in as new, but at the same time he immediately was able to help me. Because when I think of a new MA, I just think, I'm gonna have to help them even more, and then I'm gonna stumble across for what I have to do. But Jason actually really helped me with something that Dr. AJ set up for us as KPIs. There's these little goals that each of us have to help with efficiency in the clinic, and mine specifically with Biotee vitamins. And Jason immediately just came into the office, and then he got this spreadsheet that I absolutely adore. It's fantastic. It made my life 100% easier. So I really think that Jason has the conviction to make this clinic even more efficient than it has been before, especially because of his MBA, as in with his healthcare management for his master's. And yeah, that's just one person. I really
Fantastic.
And then, what I rank myself as, at least above standard. Of course, like you said, we can always go to 10, but then we can push it to even more than just 10. So I believe mine's above standard. I want to get into medical school right now. I'm working with Dr. AJ as an MA, and I'm studying for the medical exam right now. So something I can do better. But Dr. AJ actually mentioned earlier was wake up earlier. I wake up maybe at like 5 and start just cranking me out, because that's when you're in a good state to learn and encode information better, and then you can just go to sleep earlier. So I'm definitely going to give that a shot when I have more sleep.
Well, we're going to keep this party moving. The fourth power, which is the power of connection. And Jason, who is going to be next for the power of connection?
Joey, get to pick.
Oh, Joey, I'm sorry.
They went.
Dr. AJ.
Sure.
Fantastic. So Dr. AJ, the power of connection is all about making people feel fully cared for. They care for their team. They're connected. They're able to communicate in an authentic way. Like, we know when people's sharing something with us and we don't believe it, but it's when they're connecting in an authentic way, and the ability to build people up and create trust and participation. So same type of thing. Give us one person that you believe it really exudes the power of connection, and then let's rank yourself and list one action or share one action that you can take to even or get even better at this skill set.
Well, I think one person that had the power of connections is Zach. He's not here anymore. He graduated, but I think when he started, um, he just connect with everybody, and the reason that is build connections so fast is because he's produced result with speed. And so that is one of the things that I've give a lecture to everybody before is how to build speed trust, because trust takes time, but you can make it faster by produce results. And I think that one person, he connected everybody, built the better team, and he really make a lot contribution to the office. And also, before he left, he make all the training video for the office that I haven't been able to do that myself for the last 5 years. So that I think is helping with connection, because when you produce result and you go back to that person and say, hey, I'm done already, what else you want me to do, that build connections, rather than for the person to have to ask, hey, have you got that done yet, have you got that done yet. And so that I think that that's important, and being humble is also important, because one of the lectures that we had last year, we asked, well, what's the number one key to be able to better yourself? And everybody agree on that. The lecture was humility. You have to be humble to be able to learn. And that's only when you open your mind to the endless possibility. Because if you already said, I know, which is it will gonna block your brain from learning anymore. And I apply that to my student. My student that rotate here, the nurse practitioner student, was not allowed to say I know. They allowed to say I understand, but they now is they need to get that out of their vocabulary. So yeah, so humility, curiosity, and result, though will build connection fast. Now, what is my own connection? I believe it was bad before, and now I think it's above standard, because I talk to my team more. I build programs that have them connected with each other, and I'm real happy that my team was able to hang out with among themselves off hour and build a very good camaraderie. So that's great. I think so far we're doing better and better at building a good cultures. And with Chris as well, I think you've been doing a fantastic job for the last 8 months. So that's that. I would rate myself above standard. What is one or two things that I can do to improve it? We'll talk to our team more. We recently implemented that a weekly conversation with each individual. We are in the sort of emergency state of our colon back lab, so I haven't been able to do that lately. But once we caught up, soon we have a goal, right? And we'll start doing that absolutely weekly. Okay, so that one or two.
Fantastic. Who do we have in the room that hasn't gone?
Titania.
Okay, so you're going to go on the next one, and then after that, I'm going to go through the final five, and then I'll be able to send it to you all, because I know we're a touch tight on time here, so that you can go through the final five, because you're going to want to rate yourself and figure out what are the actions that you're going to do. So be ready for this one. The power of communication. The power of communication, which is a number 5, which is interesting because it probably sounds similar to the power of connection, but it's also similar in that you're demonstrating interest in others. Almost what you had shared, Dr. AJ, earlier, which is interesting, like you were ahead of us, is the replacing ego with empathy, being transparent, even when things are difficult. So it says no matter the circumstances, but I would say even when things are difficult, and then being able to listen to each member of the team without an agenda or preconceived conclusions. And it does sound, again, very similar to what you were sharing earlier, Dr. AJ. So the next piece, exercising the power of communication. Go ahead and take your shot at this. List one person that you believe is a powerful communicator, and then rank your own communication and share with us an action that you would take to even more improve on that. And who did we call on, Dr. AJ?
Miss Rodriguez.
Fantastic.
All right, Dania.
Okay. So one of the persons that I can, that can communicate, actually everybody, Dr. AJ, Jason, Joey, Ann, and Paula. They're all very, very, very good. And I've been here for a month now. And my background always been in the medical, in the back office. Never had really any experience with at the front with insurances or taking care of the phone or any of that. And they've been very, very, very helpful. Dr. AJ, he helped me to feel confident, like not to, sometimes when you're in a new place, you feel intimidated or, kind of like you block yourself from asking questions. And I feel very comfortable here. And the things too with the patients, how to communicate with everybody is the attitude. If you have good attitude and you have that, passion for your job, everything comes easy. I don't know what else to say.
How
I
would
love
you
that.
rate yourself?
How do I rate myself?
Yes, on that.
Oh, okay. Here, I think I'm standard. I'm not there yet in the, in working in the front, but I'll get there.
And what are the 1 or 2 actions that you're going to do to make it above standard? Learn.
Be open-minded.
Beautiful.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. AJ, just to check in, if we go a couple of minutes over, is it okay so we can finish these, or do you want me to
Yes,
go in
sir.
hyper speed?
No, please
Okay.
go over. We got time.
Okay, we may just be about 5 minutes over, no more than that. So the next 4 I'm going to walk us through, but we won't take shares just to make sure we finish on time. And it's something for you all to think about. So we've got the power of strategic innovation, which is to be encouraging ideas. You're constantly innovating. And what we're doing here is we're talking about innovating yourself. Learning and growing is innovating. I loved what was just shared, like, having a good attitude and passion for the job. Well, then everything comes easy. That's like, for some people, you'd be innovating yourself to get to that space. And so that's innovation, but then also being able to accept it and see it from others, testing these new ideas for yourself and measuring the results. Remembering this piece that we're always learning. We're always learning. You never want to get to a space where you know everything. Similar to, I think it was Dr. AJ was sharing, like we don't want to just continue saying, I know that, because it closes our minds. And then setting aside time on a regular basis to have meetings, so thinking time, also similar to what you were sharing, Dr. AJ. But then the other thing here is people oftentimes think, well, meetings with ourselves, what's that even mean? But it's setting aside time for you to think about yourself, to think about life, to think about what's most important to you. It's massively powerful. Most people don't give themselves time to think, or they're just thinking when they're in the shower or in the car, but you're doing other things. So you want to just spend time thinking about yourself in different ways to grow. So seventh power is the power of action. It's great to know things. It's great to have knowledge, but we've got to take action on it. We've got to do things. We've got to grow. So you can see is creating action plans and figuring out who's responsible for those things and when do they need to be complete. Now, this is really structured in a team sense when we're leading our teams, but think about for ourselves too. We've got to make sure that if we're asking other people to do things that we're going to get buy-in, so they'll actually do it. And then this final piece is making sure we've got ways to measure ourselves. You know, if you're going to start getting up at 5 a.m., I think I heard that earlier, well, let's figure out a way to track that so you know where you really are. You know, on our team, we've got to measure efficiency. We put in new ways to do things. We've got to figure out, well, does the thing actually work? And the way that we can do that is measuring. So that's the power of action. And a couple of steps to boost your power of action is checking in with yourself, making sure you're clear when you have expectations for others, going back to what we talked about, smart outcomes for ourselves. You've got this second piece, when you are getting other people to do things, so you're getting others to take action, make sure you have an agreement. It's one thing for me to go around just telling everybody what to do. What I'm really looking for, though, is agree. So I know that they're going to do it, and then making sure that you're measuring, going back to the other piece, because if you don't have a plan on measuring something, you can't manage it. And I'm sure we've all heard that. You can't manage what you don't measure. Eighth power is the power of truth. Oh, what the heck does that mean? We all probably feel like we say the truth. But it's verbalizing what you believe needs to be happening so that outcomes are being met. This could be, in number one, being honest with ourselves about where we're at, what's going on with us, or where our opportunities are. We've got making sure that we're sharing information with others so that they can win, so that they can do the things right. And this third piece, oftentimes the most challenging for people, is to be honest with things that don't necessarily feel good for people to hear. So be honest with your feedback, but doing it from a place of we're not judging people or we're not being hard on people, but we're helping them grow. That's the big difference here. It's not about telling people what they're doing wrong, but having an actual commitment to them taking that to the next level. So as you can see with all of these, of course, you're going to go back, write down one or two people that represent this for you, and then figure out what the actions are. Now, I don't know that I explained this. Well, I think I did, but I'll explain it again. The reason that we do that is we can model the traits that we like from other people. So if I look at Elon Musk and I say, hey, I really like this one thing that he's doing. I like the idea that he's going out in the public sphere and he's saying something as a leader that's actually unpopular but needs to be said to his workforce to hit his outcomes. Like he's going out there at personal risk to his reputation, risk to people being upset with him, whether that's employees or people outside of him, but he's saying it anyways. Because we can model those types of traits that we like about certain people. So now we've got the power of character, which just means if you have things that you value, that you take actions in accordance with those. You can see principles and integrity. It's interesting. I don't follow politics quite a bit, but I did see something. There's this, I almost said ceremony, but a thing going on, and there was a gentleman on there, and the clip that I ended up seeing, which was really interesting, was he said, and this is just this person, it's not necessarily my values, but he said, I believe the Constitution of the United States is inspired by God. And so I make my decisions based off of protecting that. So he's got things that he says are his values, for him specifically religion and his belief in God. And it's so important to him that his actions follow that. So not to say that all of you have to believe any of those things, but it is whatever you value, your actions align with that. You got demonstrating some of these qualities, being brave, honest, courageous, generous, loyal, kind, sincere, unselfish, and making sure that who you are and you say you are is consistent with how people see you. Because I can say I'm the most inspiring, honest person ever, but if everybody around me says I'm a liar, I should probably go, okay, there's something that I need to look at here because I'm off base. So same thing, we're going to look at this. And the final piece is the power of giving. You know, living an amazing life is all about giving. And so that's living in a state of abundance. It's an energy. It's not scarce, meaning that I can do great at work. I can be amazing on the team. Everybody can be amazing on the team. It's not one winner takes all or anything like that. You know, always remembering what we're grateful for, what our opportunities are. We give of ourselves. That could be time, energy, love, experience. There's a lot of shares around that with this team earlier. And then it's not just a bragging about ourselves, the ego that we talked about. And it is noticing what we do successfully, whether that's giving or whatever that is, and owning that piece also. So we're going to go through that piece. And because we're at time, here are the 10 in a list. I've got some worksheets that I'll be able to share with you all. And the piece that I would ask from all of you is for most of us, when we look at those 10 or we go through those 10, there's probably one or two where we didn't feel as strong in, or we felt like there was more opportunity to grow. You know, those are the ones that we want to go out and make sure we're taking action on consistently over time. All of these are fantastic. And remembering that this is a growing experience, like you're growing as leaders every single day. And when we improve 1% every day, that's 37 times better at the end of the year. So what questions, if any? I do know that we're at time and you all have quite a few people to go serve.
So the biggest one is, I mean, everybody went through, our meeting today, and I think our team generally wanted to be doing good or outstanding. And we are relentlessly, our team and also the doctor wanted to make our team better and the office better. How can we help our team to go from outstanding to go from excellent to outstanding? Because I know that there's a little bit of just a little bit more. Very little, and it more of a psychology than doing more. And how would we help our team to do that? Because at some point, people are going to say, well, I'm tired. I'm already doing a lot. And how do we help them overcome that struggle?
Yeah, I'd go back to the mindset piece and quite simply ask, well, how do you want to feel while you're doing these things? It reminds me, and I may... Oh, there we go. Are we back?
Yes.
Okay.
We are.
It reminds me of, I was working with a gentleman that owns some dentist's office up in Canada, and one of the things he shared with me, because he was having some challenges with patients and some staff coming on and off, and he said, I finally realized whether I'm having challenges that I work through at work or I'm having an amazing day at work, I still need to take care of myself because I'm going to do the thing anyways. So I might as well feel good about what's going on. And that's the mindset piece. So it could be as a team asking everybody, well, since we're all doing this together as a team anyways, and we're embracing these challenges, we're getting even better, we're stretching ourselves at times, well, how do we want to feel? And then helping everybody to go and do that thing, go and feel that way. Now, I say helping everybody. Part of it is having people identify what it is, And then your part in helping is, well, you go do how you want to be feeling, you know, and have fun with the process.
Okay. Any other questions? Whatever question you have, please. Any challenges? No? Okay, sound like our team don't have any challenges.
Good. Well, great to see everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Okay. All
And
right.
everybody have an amazing day.
Thank you, Chris.